Hello adventurers, and welcome to day 2 of D&December. We'll be following Scarlet Moth's creative prompt for D&December, with today's topic being your favorite class. And I wanted to talk about my favorite class. And if anyone has ever followed me at all on anything Dungeons & Dragons or previous D&Decembers, this won't come as a surprise at all. It's rogues. I love playing rogues, but I kind of want to talk about my history with them and how I ended up enjoying them so much. And where it really came back to was, rogues was not my first class. I feel like a lot of people, their favorite class usually ends up being the first one that they play as, because then they have a sort of emotional connection to that when they go back and think about those times. Rogues was not my first. It wasn't. It was, I played the Dungeons & Dragons basic encyclopedia rule set, so my first class was Elf, which was a fighter mage. But what drew me to playing the Elf back then was the kind of utility that she had. It was, you could still fight and be a warrior and have a few hit points, you can attack, but you can also cast spells. So she kind of had that versatility. That's what I liked about that. And then when I finally went over to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, one, I had to learn that Elf wasn't a class, it was a race. You could be an elven anything. That blew my mind. But instead I went towards rogues. And the reason being is if you go back and kind of look at the older rule sets, a lot of the classes kind of came down between being able to do one of two things. You can hit stuff, or you can cast spells. And that's kind of how I saw it when I was going back and kind of looking through the different classes. I mean, that's not completely the truth, but a gross generalization, that's kind of how it is. So when I went back and I looked at it, it's like, okay, fighters, they can hit stuff. Clerics, they can hit stuff and cast spells. Magic users, they cast spells, okay. Paladins, they can hit stuff and eventually cast spells. Or rangers, they can hit stuff from afar or hit stuff twice. It's just a lot of hitting stuff. And that's kind of how I saw things, which is not fair to the other classes, until I saw Thief or Rogues. And what stood out to me from them was that they could hit stuff, yes, but they weren't very good at it. But rather, they had all these additional abilities that a lot of the other classes didn't have. And it basically came down to a lot of numbers. Like, it had all kinds of different numbers here, and that was the part that excited me. I wanted to do all of this stuff. Like, anyone can hit stuff, most people can cast spells, but I want to be able to pick pockets. I want to be the one who can find traps and remove them. I want to have all this kind of utility ability that a lot of the other classes have. Like, that would be how I would provide to the party. It was everything that was outside of the combat that was interesting to me. So I didn't really care about fighting or backstabbing for big damage or anything like that. Like, I wanted to do all the stuff outside of that. When combat happened, I was generally close to worthless, and that was fine. It just made me, I feel like I was a more interesting character that way if I wasn't combat focused. Especially since I feel like older editions of Dungeons & Dragons were usually a lot more combat heavy or combat focused, especially if you go all the way back to something like Chainmail. But now it's closer to role playing. Now I've got like my character class and how I want to play it with all these abilities. Like, yeah, he's just got pages and pages of abilities. And you know what? Even the best part is, eventually, back then, thieves, they could cast magic. Once they hit a certain level, they could use magic user scrolls. So not only was I had all this extra utility, once I hit a certain level, I could cast spells too. So again, just the amount of utility that they had was what really drew me to rogues. And that's what I miss. I kind of miss that part, because I feel like rogues and thieves these days, they basically became these massive burst damage backstabbers, and that's how people kind of see them. Like, if they're in the right position, they can do a crap ton of damage. And man, I don't agree with that. I think they've always been generally weak fighters. Yes, they're opportunists, but they should never be able to just suddenly do a crazy amount of burst damage that would be on par with a fireball. And I can pinpoint the exact moment when that happened. It was World of Warcraft. The moment World of Warcraft came out and their rogues in there weren't like the sneaky trap removal rogues, they were the massive damage backstabbers, that's when it all kind of changed. So I do kind of miss the older rogue skill set where they were just fragile, not great fighters, but they could hide around, get the information they need, scout ahead, remove traps, pickpockets. Now if you look at closer to 5th edition rogues, which I still very much enjoy playing, they do have a lot of additional abilities in there that kind of keep them within that original thief archetype where they were very much utility driven, but now they have a lot more. They have a lot more combat abilities. You know, their sneak attack damage can be awesome, just a lot. It's a lot of dice all at once. It's become easier for them to do the sneak attack. And if you're playing as the assassin subclass within a rogue, you got even stronger sneak attacks. So I feel like they've kind of went a little bit closer into that combat side. I mean, especially in 4th edition. But that's kind of how rogues got twisted, and I do blame World of Warcraft for that. But even with all of that, I still absolutely love playing the rogue class because they do have all the extra abilities. I like sneaking around, I like picking pockets, I like being able to climb over things, and I still enjoy all the outside of the combat stuff. So that's my favorite class. It's rogue. There are other classes I do enjoy though. I do like, speaking strictly within 5th edition, I actually really like the Battlemaster fighters. I like those a lot just because, again, like they're fighters, but then they have all these extra abilities and stuff within there that's just super cool. Like all like the distraction strikes, the ripostes, the rallies and all that. I think that's super cool. I also played sorcerers a little bit when it came to playing a magic user. I always played a sorcerer. His name was Nylok. I played him, Nylok Arendane. I played him quite a bit. I've also played a little bit of a barbarian, like just a half-orc barbarian. Might have a story about him at some point. But yeah, so generally there aren't a whole lot of classes that I don't like, except for Bard. Fun fact. I used to just hate bards, absolutely despise them, because to me they're always just shitty thieves. Now this is back in 2nd edition and 3rd edition, etc. I just couldn't stand them. I hated them with a passion undying. But now looking at 5th edition bards are rad. I like them a lot. So even like the classes I used to hate, now they're way cooler. Anyway, that's the classes I love playing, and I hope I kind of explained why I do enjoy playing them. It's not because of the backstab and the damage, it's because I want to help the party in ways that no one else can, not with magic, and not with sticking a sword into something squishy. That said, I'm sure there's plenty of other classes I didn't even think of that's your favorite. Let me know what your favorite is, because I'd love to hear why people enjoy playing the classes that they do, and kind of made me open my eyes to it, because I barely ever play druids, I never play monks, I never play paladins, but I would love to hear people's insight on why they enjoy playing that. So please tell me that in the comments below. And if you want to, you can share that with me on Twitter using the hashtag D&December. I've been looking through those, reblogging and favoriting and replying to a lot of people on there too. So please let me know, and thank you guys for participating in D&December, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.